Ladies and gentlemen, we're back live. This is our new show format here. It's called Entrepreneur's Life, where every day, Monday through Friday, we're going to have amazing entrepreneurs who have seen it all. And today I have a very special guest. I've known him for many years now, right? I think we met like 7 years ago or so.
Yep, we
Is
did.
that true? We met in Berlin, actually. We might dive into your Berlin life as well. Let's see. Anyway, this is Stephen Kuhn, a good old friend of mine, and he's known as truly a master problem solver with the reputation for tackling seemingly impossible projects, right? So he has a very global background, has worked with real rock stars, musicians, politicians. He has worked with companies listed on NASDAQ and really focused on turning around companies for the last decade or so, I guess. Is that right? Maybe you want to start off with adding to that introduction, Stephen.
Yeah, it's been about 25 years. Look, everything I do, whether it's mergers and acquisitions, turnaround business management, coaching, or advisory, it all comes down to one thing, and that's people, right? And every business is ran by a person. Every company is ran by a person. Every issue can be solved through a person. So I focus on the people. It's people first. It's people first when I come to deals. I don't ever look at structuring a deal or anything like that until we get the people part figured out. So yeah, it sounds like it's a lot, but it's all the same thing.
I guess all solutions and all problems start with the actual human beings, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. And people forget that because we're so used to creative problem solving or problem solving specifics or the grids that everyone uses: start here, go there, go there, go there, and they forget about the person, right? Because a lot of times problems are caused or problems aren't seen even because you're looking at what we call the perceived problem. That's the external. And then the actual problem is always internal. It's always the person yourself. It's always you. It's always the leader. A leader who says my sales team sucks. It's like, no, actually, you're not leading them right. So there's, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a difference, or you're not managing it right, or you're not hiring the right people. There's always a process there that needs to be found that always goes back to the human.
That's really food for thought, and I guess you're very right about this. Let me ask you something that is, I think, very, very relevant for our audience here. So this is a show about entrepreneurship, right? And you being an entrepreneur and having worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs. Let me ask you, working with actually very exceptional human beings. I mean, you've worked with people like Mick Jagger, like true rock stars, but also rock stars in business, right? What, if you can, what were your three biggest takeaways working with some really exceptional entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think the first one is none of them expect to be chosen or given a handout. They chose themselves to be successful, and they were. That was it. That's the number one. I think the number two is, we always say don't quit, don't give up and stuff, but that's not a solution. That's just an attitude. The solution is don't quit, never give up, and always look for solutions. Always look for solutions. Can you adjust your azimuth? Can you adjust your bore sight, like directions you're going, right? And just keep going. And what I always say is move forward with creating space. Creating space is showing up wholly and fully for the person in front of you with no preconceived notions or cookie cutter solutions and no specific outcome in mind, focusing on the only thing that you can control, and that's your intention of adding value by solving problems. When you do that, you co-create a world. So if we're talking and we're in a conversation and I go to you like this and I'm open and I'm not looking for anything specific, just to solve your problems, add some value, you're going to come up with solutions and ideas that you've never had before and that you would never have on your own. It's only possible through that interaction. So a lot of these entrepreneurs do that intuitively. Like they really just show up and say, look, I'm here. I see what you need to do. Let's find a way. Let's go. And you co-create as you move forward. You create each step as you move forward. So, and I think number three is they're not the shiny object syndrome. Like they're very good at focusing.
Yeah.
But I don't want to mistake focus for what they call a laser focus or hustle and grind. Because if they always say, put your head to the grindstone, right? So if you put your head to the grindstone, what are you looking at? You're looking at the grindstone.
Right.
What you don't see is coincidences, luck, doors opening, new connections, people walking by. That's where the opportunity lies, right? You're going to attract people at your frequency, so you better be looking up to see who's coming. And so that's the difference between head to the grindstone and focus for me. And so those three things: focus, the ability to keep moving and co-create without stopping, and the other one is that creating space and finding a solution for just about any problem.
That's amazing. Thank you. I really like that you just talk about frequency. It's very interesting. You are my fourth guest here, and the first guest also spoke about that topic. So I think that's something that a lot of people who have gone through a lot of shit and worked with a lot of people get back to, right? So
Yeah.
that's all. All right. So this was already a great list of three. Let's stick to that. I think that's a great format for having our audience learn the most they can within the 20 minutes that we got here. So what did you see as the biggest three challenges that most entrepreneurs have?
Well, I mean, I think it's lack of knowledge. It's like that's the number one problem. They want to do something, they don't know how. Most of them are too proud to hire a coach, or they think it's too expensive, or they don't want to hire a business advisor because it would show the world that they don't know what they're doing. That's what they believe, right? And so for me, it's lack of knowledge. I mean, I have people that, like a guy running a brewery, right?
Mhm.
And he needs to fix this right now, but he's really successful, but he's losing money, and he
Mm.
doesn't understand why. But he doesn't want to invest in a coach or a consultant, or hasn't made it a priority, put it that way. And so it's like in the military, in school, in sports, we're always taught it's a team that wins. It's always a team, right? There's no such thing as a self-made man or a self-made woman. Someone helped you along the way, whether it was your parents, a teacher, a coach, but whatever it was. And so, if you look at this, if you look at the way that people move forward in life, it's always with a coach. It's always with someone who helps you. It's always with someone who's teaching you and guiding you along the way. But when we get into business, after we leave the sports and the school and everything, knowing that team's important, we say, I have to do it to myself. I have to prove it. I have to prove it to myself. I have to do it
Mm.
alone.
Mm.
And that's, for me, that's a huge mistake and a huge challenge, because I understand psychologically why they're thinking like that, because I thought like that.
Yeah.
But I know what the reality is. The reality is you can't do it alone. You can't. It's impossible. So I would say that's the first one. Trying to do it
Right.
alone and not asking for help because you
Mm.
don't have the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
I
Definitely an
think
issue. I know.
yeah, and I think one of the other challenges is you just don't know what you don't know. That's sort of like the
Yeah.
first one. You don't know what you don't know. And when I talk to some clients, and they're like, "Yeah, I want to scale my company," and I'm like, "Do you want to grow it or do you want to scale it?" And they're like, "Isn't
Mm.
that the same thing?" No, it's
Mm.
not the same thing. Growth is putting money into a company. It costs more to grow. Scale is growing, is expanding the company without extra cost, without extra bottom line. Like, well, how does that work? Well, like a SaaS company. Then you get into the nitty gritty, and then you realize you can acquire companies for no money down to expand and scale your company. So you just double your revenue by acquiring a new company. It didn't cost you anything up front. You're like, they don't know this. I didn't know this. And so as I go through the years and learn it, I'm so eager at going out there to help and like, hey man, don't worry about growing your company. Why do you want to pump me? You don't need a $1.4 million loan to scale your company. Let's acquire you one.
Mm.
So for me, you just don't know what you don't know. There's so much out there, man. You got to ask for help. That's the number one thing. That's the number one thing. If someone says to me, look, you've worked at the parliaments, you've worked for Andrea Bocelli, Mick Jagger, like you said, Olivia Newton-John, all over the world, globally. I'm working on some deals right now you won't even believe. And people call me all the time to do things like, hey, I have a negotiation in Croatia. Can you fly out and help me negotiate? And it's not because I know what the heck they're negotiating about. It's because I know people.
Mm.
So as an entrepreneur, number three, you gotta be focused on people. Too many entrepreneurs focus on process and procedures.
Mm.
I have a thing, PPS, people, procedures, and structures, right? People always come first. Always come first. So focus on the people, and you don't know what you don't know, and ask for help. Those three things.
Got it. So I have another question following up on this. I like that. That's awesome. The problem that I have many times, and I think that's the same for other entrepreneurs, is that I do understand that there's a problem. I do understand I have a problem. I might even understand that I need help with that,
Yeah.
but I'm having a hard time going to the root cause, understanding where it is coming from, right?
Yeah.
My analysis is just too shallow. Any advice on finding that root cause of a problem so you can actually change it sustainably?
Well, I think it's about asking for help. I mean, seriously, if I can't see the forest for the trees, I can do all I want. And people say back up and pan out. You can do that, but you're not going to. You can't pull your brain out of your head and look from the external, right? So you just ask a buddy, a friend, a colleague. Like people call me all the time. I do about 4 or 5 calls a day every day,
Hmm.
right? Zoom calls. That's basically all I do. So I do all my deals, and they just ask for feedback. Like right now, I have 10 free sessions for 30 minutes each. in May that I'm giving away for anybody who wants to sign up. And I will solve your problems on the spot. I will find solutions for you. I'll dig deep and I'll find that perspective that you're looking for. And then whether you want to work with me or not is up to you. But then you can move on. I suggest other coaches sometimes if I can't help. I suggest other solutions that if they're not my solutions, I suggest somebody else. And so like I do that to stay sharp, right? And that's how I'm able to find so many root causes of so many people. But my own root causes, hell, I can't find them to save my life. Right? I need to get help. I ask for help all the time, Philip. I ask for help all the time, constantly.
I know. You asked me a couple times. I hope it was helpful. Okay. So let me then.
You asked me too. Remember?
One thing I would definitely go to you for when it comes to advice is being super, super fit. That's another thing I want to dive into. How old are you now?
55.
You're 55.
56 in 20 days.
In 20 days. Okay, I'll mark that calendar. See that? Okay, and that's just part of it. So, to me, you look like a young Arnold Schwarzenegger almost, right?
Oh. Being from Austria, that's a comment. I mean, that's a compliment. But, yeah.
Almost. Actually, a lot healthier than Arnold. So my question is regarding keeping that balance. If balance is a thing, or maybe oscillation is the thing, or how do you do it? If you're speaking with entrepreneurs and as an entrepreneur yourself, how do you make sure that it's not all work, but you make sure that you take care of your body, of your mind, and basically live a fulfilled and happy life?
Well, I call that QOL, quality of life, right?
You call it what?
QOL, quality of life. You've heard my videos. At the end, I always say, it's all about quality of life. You know, that's the one equalizer. You ask anyone on the planet what their highest goal is. They're going to say money, like that. But if you dig down deep, it'll be like, I just want to have a quality of life. I want to have a good quality of life. And so I think the question was actually, what was the question actually?
Well, I guess in essence, the question is, how can you live a happy and fulfilled life as an entrepreneur?
Balance. You said balance.
Well, balance is not the right thing. I don't believe in balance. Do you?
I believe in integration.
Okay, tell me more about integration.
We're not two different people. So you don't have a job and your private life. You're one person. So how do you integrate each other and be cohesive with each of the units in your life, including your partners and your job and everything else, and still keep that balance of QOL, right? Well, for me, it is about integration. So if I want to stay in shape, I have to integrate that into my daily routine, my daily life, to make sure that I feel that way, that I stay that way. And it's not something you change to lose weight and get back off again. It's a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
We're always creating a lifestyle that's going to keep us at the top level of our game. And that means if I'm not in shape, I promise you, I'm not in the top of my game in my business. I promise you that. If you're in shape, you glow, you have energy, you're more creative, you're just more ingenuity. Your brain fires on all cylinders. Right. So if you're not in shape, and I don't mean bodybuilding, I'm just saying be in shape, you're going to see a difference in your business, and vice versa. Relationships, the same exact thing. If you're pouring yourself into your job, everyone knows this, and your relationship suffering, you're not going to be as good at your job as you would be if you had a powerful partner standing beside you and it was there for you, right? Because you respect them and integrate that into them. I integrate my wife, Olga, into almost all of my businesses now. I want her to be a part of it. I want her to feel the power that I have, and she's gaining it, actually surpassing me in some areas as well. It's incredible to see. But just, getting your partner on board, getting her into the gym with me, which she now does, and like all these things to integrate into our life as a story of success. We're writing our own story, man. That's the beauty of it. We as entrepreneurs get to write our own story. We get up when we want. We go to bed when we want. We go here. We go there. We do what we want. We sit down and do a podcast every day of the week if we feel like it. That's what we do. It's freaking amazing. It's an amazing life. And if you're an entrepreneur, you don't have an amazing life, let's talk, man.
I agree. But then how do you do it? I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs, they believe obviously in the like hustle and grind mindset. And let's face it, you gotta do your work and you gotta get shit done, obviously, right? But then how would a usual day for you look like? And is there any routines that you would recommend to entrepreneurs?
I don't recommend any routines. That's such an old thing. Like, oh, morning routine, magic routine, morning millionaire, all these kind of things. That's nice and everything, and everyone should have somewhere to start because you do need a structure. That's the first thing you do with a recovering addict or a alcoholic is you give them a structured routine,
Yeah.
so that they don't have time to think around and sit around and get depressed and drink again or do drugs again, right? So that's a good thing, right? Routines and habits and things. James Clear, great book, Atomic
Yeah, true.
Habits, for anyone who hasn't read that. But I wouldn't suggest a routine. All I say is integrate things into your life that are fun for you and do it every day. My typical day, I get up with my wife. My wife and I, we take the kids to school. I come back. She stays in bed because she's a late sleeper. I come back and I lay in bed for a while with her and we, just enjoy each other, right? Then I get up, I go to the gym, or I'll go to the gym and then come back and do that, right? And then I start my day about 12 noon. And I know people are like, what? Do you start your day at 12 noon? It's my work day at 12 noon. I'm already up and out at 6:30, 7 in the morning. I'm doing my things. I do some meditation. Sometimes I'll listen to music. Sometimes I'll just dance with my wife in the bedroom. And sometimes I'll listen to, my audiobooks. It just depends what's up with me. Because I don't believe that I have to force myself to do meditation every single day. If I feel like I need it, then I'm going to do it. If I don't feel like I need it, then I'm not going to do it. So I'm free to do that. I think a lot of times we focus on a rigid structure that we have to follow because so-and-so said that we have to do it. And he's a billionaire, right? So-and-so
Right.
said we have to do this. He's a millionaire. Like I read this billionaire, he gets up at 3:30 in the morning. Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, why? I don't want to be a billionaire if that's what it takes.
Well,
So
let me tell that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people actually do want to be a billionaire, right?
Yeah.
Billionaires, no. You don't want that.
Yeah. Well,
Trust me.
So I guess in the end, it's about what you need in the moment based upon the way that you want to live your life and enjoy your life. So I have time off, and like today, we just spent, we went to breakfast at 12 noon, right? So brunch, I guess you could call it. We sat there, we drank Turkish tea because we're in Turkish tea, and spoke with each other about things that are in our heads and what's going on. It's really important for me to be free of my mind. So when I get on your podcast, I have nothing weighing on my mind that will distract me. I want to give my full value to your listeners as an example. So I ensure that when I have a show on a day like this, that I'm clear of mind, I'm excited, I'm moving forward, I'm loving my wife and my life so that I could share it. And so I make sure that my days end like that, right? I make sure of that. I don't let anything to chance. I'll adapt to things that happen. I'm very good at that. Matter of fact, the bigger the problem, the calmer I become. Right. So it's for me, it's all about what you want, man. It isn't about what someone tells you to do. You have to follow the schedule. Shit, man, I don't feel like meditating today. Well, then don't meditate. Who cares? Right? Keep going. Do something else. Read a book. Listen. Talk to your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your husband. Right? Just have a good time and enjoy life. You don't have to be hustling and grinding all the time. The biggest thing is that people think, I have a duty to hustle and grind, because then they have a sense of accomplishment, even if there is no revenue made. Right? A lot of people.
Very true. That is very true.
I can tell you how I do business. Real simple. I make most of my money when someone comes to me and says, I need X, Y, and Z. I need funders for this project. I need a distributor for this product. And I go out and find a distributor and a funder. First of all, I hear your problem. Okay, I got your problem. I go out and find the solution. I quantify the solution. I present you with a quantified solution, meaning you're going to earn this much money over the next X, Y, and Z years based upon this, and this solution that I brought to you. And you're like, oh my God, you did that without an agreement? I'm like, yes. Well, what do you want? I say, I'll send you an agreement. I send an agreement. And that's where it gets creative, because if I'm introducing you to let's say a distributor, I want to get commission from that. Not only that, I want an introduction, because let's say it's going to make you $1 million this year. Well, I want 10% of that, don't I? Right? Why would I introduce you otherwise? Right? And then maybe your company needs to scale and I need to help you with that. So you can pay me a retainer for 6 months while I help you scale, and I'm going to get a piece of the pie as well. So let's say 5% equity. And people are sitting there right now going, that's bullshit. I would never do that. If I brought you a solution to your problem that made you $5 million in the next 3 years, would you pay me $500,000? Exactly.
I would.
Exactly. So
Sure.
It's completely feasible. It's a no-brainer.
Right.
But most people go in first, look at a structure, try to structure a solution, and then say, give me money, I'll go out and find a solution. No. So I work sort of completely different than anybody else. And that's why I have people coming to me. I just had a call today, like, hey, can you fly? I told you, can you fly out? Or the other one is like, hey, there's a investor looking for X, Y, and Z. Do you know anybody? I'm like, yeah, actually I do. Boom, connect them. But I have agreements everywhere. right? 10% here, 6% there, whatever, 3%, 5%, all these plus the exits, so it's very simple. So that means I work about 4 hours a day, about 4 hours a day. That's about it.
That is also very different. But then again, you're in a different stage as well, right? But
Yeah,
I
of
find
course.
I find that very interesting. We're actually already at 20 minutes, but let me ask you one more question because I think building on moves fast, right? It's
Yeah.
nuts. I know it's crazy. I could probably have this podcast for like 2 or 3 hours each, but then I wouldn't have a life anymore.
Yeah,
And also, I
exactly.
want this show to be something that people can consume on their commute or whatever when they're working out,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
don't have like another Joe Rogan experience. Not that I would be Joe Rogan, but in terms of length, right?
Yeah.
Okay, last question. A million or more dollar business idea that people could steal from you today.
Oh man, what could that be? For me, it's selling something big. So find a company that needs to sell something for $1 million, or to say $10 million, and your commission's $1 million, 10%. So find something that you can sell for $10 million and find a buyer for that. And you're like, I don't know anybody. No, you know me now. Call me. I know people that can buy things for $10 million. If I don't know, I know somebody who does. And if they don't know, they know somebody who does. You see, that's how it works. You want to make big money, you got to do some big steps. You got to take risks. You got to go out there and say, what can I sell that's going to make me money? Sure, you can sell cars and make, $600 to $1,000 each time you sell a car. Sell 10 cars a month, busting your ass 20 hours, 20 hours a week, or 40 hours a week. I guess that's what it is now. 40 hours a week. I just gave myself up. 40 hours a week. But you can also leverage. Now, these deals take longer, but you pop one a year, you're good.
That's true. Very much reminds me of a guy who I've been speaking with at a mastermind. Actually, if you're listening to this, dude, we had like a long, drunk discussion at a nightclub in Sweden, in Stockholm. And he was telling me that he runs a successful coaching business, right? A proper company with coaches and everything. And then it says, yeah, and my top offer is a coaching where I charge $250,000, so $250,000 for a year, paid up front, and is like one short call a week. And I was like, dude, and this is selling? He's like, yeah, I got like 14 clients for that. I was like, wow, that takes balls. But
Access.
obviously, you know how to deliver. It
Well,
works.
price dictates quality, right? So
Yeah.
people are like, well, shit. If you're too low, people are like, no. You know what I mean? It's like, but you got to have the backing to do it. Like, I'm sure he has you can Google him and you'll see what he's done in the past.
Of course, he's good.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
he's good. You have to build up your reputation, and the offer has to justify the price. Of course.
I mean, I remember when I think I told you it was after we met in the ASW or whatever it was.
Affiliate world. Yeah.
Well, Affiliate World, that was what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
Affiliate World. Is I had someone who was there. Someone asked me to come to. I think it was Dubai for 2 days to train their staff on what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, okay, $40K a day for 6 hours. And they're like, okay. And I was like, here we go. You know what I mean? It was Dubai. I should have said 140K a day.
Ah, shit. Yeah. If somebody says okay right away,
I know.
you're
You're
definitely not pricing high enough. All right.
Yeah.
That was fun. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Stephen Kuhn. If you're here watching this live or one of the replays, make sure to follow my channels. I'm bringing on people like or very different to Stephen Kuhn. But each day I want to bring you value. So please like this, like hit the bell button or whatever it is on the channel that you're watching. Also, make sure to check out Stephen Kuhn. If you think he can solve your problem, reach out to him. I'm sure he can. Thank you very much for watching this. And thank you, Stephen. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
My pleasure,
Goodbye.
Philip. Take care.